Yes.
The Templeton Foundation particularly wants to recognise your giving value to the quality of Ubuntu. There are lots of different definitions of the African word Ubuntu. Could you give us your definition?
Ubuntu is the essence of being human, of being a person. And basically it says what all of us in fact experience. A person is a person through other persons. You can't be human in isolation. You need others in order to be human. And we who read the Bible ought not to be surprised. I mean, because God said, God created all these things, and then God created Adam, and and Adam was having the time of his life with all of the animals there. I mean, everything good. But God said, it's not good for that guy to be there alone. No, he wasn't alone. I mean, there were elephants and giraffes and whatever. And yet God said, he's alone. And God said to him, Adam, choose a mate from, and God made the animals file past Adam and said, what about this one? Adam said, what about this? Not on your life.
Which one was that? that was the cockroach.
And then God said, no, well, let's. And God put Adam to sleep, and out of his rib produced this delectable creature, Eve. And Adam awoke and said, wow, this is just what the doctor ordered. But what do psychologists tell us? I would not be able to know how to speak as a human being. I speak as a human being because I imitated other human beings. I didn't bring myself into being. Now, that is absolutely fundamental to us, and all along we break that law. Cain ends up killing his brother. Have you noticed what happens when there are such awful things as tsunamis, and what's happened in the Philippines? You Brits had already dug into your pockets to the tune of, I don't know how many millions.
These 51.
Why don't you say, oh, this has got nothing to do with us? I mean, we are okay, Jack and Jill.
Well, I'll tell you the one answer to that, not my answer, but it was on the news the other day.
Yes.
Was a professor was talking about just this. Why have we this culture in the West of giving and some other cultures don't have? And he actually put it down to a heritage of Christianity, which was very interesting. A heritage of Christianity that has taught us that well, as John Donne said, no man is an island.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But why? Why is it that you should say no one is an island? I mean, I'm trying to be gender sensitive. Aren't I smart? Well, no, but I hardly ever now use in our language those pronouns are not masculine, feminine.
Right.
The non-sexual or non-sexist.
Right.
So we're one step ahead of you when you, and I think actually now it is important for us to be sensitive about language. We've discovered that language is not merely descriptive of reality. It creates the reality that it describes. Yeah. We were called non-white, non-European. And if you tell me that language doesn't matter, sorry.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, because you end up being treated and end up feeling a non-person. The fundamental thing about us is we're human. We're human, and we belong in this family. We really are, in fact, members one of another. And you know one of the wonderful things, where is the cradle of humanity?
Well, that's what I was going to come on to ask you.
Cradle of humanity. Because God has a quite tremendous sense of humor. The cradle of humanity is in Africa, not very far from my hometown. and let me let you into a secret. We are all Africans.
Now,
that's God's usual joke on us.
Okay, so I want to ask you about this because we don't even have the word Ubuntu. Okay,
Yeah.
So why do you think this concept is so strong in Africa, but in Europe and North America we seem to value individualism and achievement,
Yes,
and
yes.
Why is that?
That is fine. God actually, if you will permit me, I've got this hotline. I mean, I'm just checking with headquarters. God, we know you are smart. And God said, yes, I've made you one, but not one in the singular kind of sense. It's a diversity which is essential to your unity. You can't be a solitary human being. It is a contradiction in terms. In the Bible, the diversity, the spreading apart of people happens as a result of sin. And you end up with the Tower of Babel and the dispersal of peoples when they begin to speak languages and they cannot understand and cannot communicate. And in the Christian understanding, we then have Pentecost.
Which reverses it.
Yes, and there is the outpouring of the Spirit, and there is an ingathering. And what happens is you've got now that long list of there were these people from here and from here and from here, and the wonderful thing was they could each hear and understand this one message in their own languages.
Have you, Father, ever been guilty of racism? Now, the reason I ask this...
Racism?
Yes, racism.
I went for the first time to Nigeria, and I board the plane and look inside the cockpit. Both pilots are black. My heart leapt with an incredible pride, because we had been told in South Africa that blacks can't do this. And the plane took off, a smooth takeoff, and I was feeling, and then we hit the mother and father of turbulence. Yeah, when the plane would go up that way and you find you've left your stomach up there as it comes down. And I can't believe it to this day that the first thought that hit me was, "Ooh, there's no white person in that cockpit. And will these blacks make it?" Well, here I am. I mean, those blacks did make it. But it was incredible. It tells you what the effect is of oppression. Yes. And that is the blasphemy of racism.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think makes God laugh?
I think what makes God rub God's hands together is when we are at our best. You know, when we are kind. You know, in heaven God does say, "Oh, now wasn't that fantastic?" You know, when we are truly human.
Right.
No, you see?
So you think he's laughing with us, not at us?
Yeah, human,
Yeah.
humane are so close. I think most of the time God is laughing with us.